Hello? Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello, hello. Okay, sounds like you guys can. Ava and Nicole, maybe you guys have your microphones turned off, but if you guys can hear me, can you comment? Oh,
Yes, can hear you.
hello. Alrighty. Hey, Cameron. Hi, Nicole. Thanks, Ava, for letting me know. I'm gonna wait a few minutes to see if anybody else gets on. I have a mixture of announcements, or not announcements, but just things we need to chat about for our team. And then also, I wanted to dive in on a topic that somebody was asking about, chatting about today. So I'm just gonna give it a few minutes to see who all jumps on. Here's Finian. Lisa. Hey guys, just giving it a few or one more minute to see if anyone else jumps on. Okay. And as always, if you guys can't respond for whatever reason, if you guys have to have your microphones off, whether y'all are driving or out doing whatever, feel free to use the chat option or the chat box on the bottom, just to communicate with me and or the rest of the people on the team or on the call. So I was hoping that we had a couple more agents join from our team because I had some things I wanted to touch base on. But uh, since the majority of people on the call are on our team, then I'm just gonna dive in. So I wanted to ask those of you guys that are using Follow Up Boss, our CRM, are you guys having any technical issues or glitches as of right now that y'all need to just like report or I don't know? Anything that you're saying, realizing like, hey, this is not working on Follow Up Boss?
No, I think no.
No? Okay.
No, I think it's overall really great. I do wish we could do those like voice memos, unless y'all have a way we can do them on them. But besides that, it's been really great.
Okay, cool. Well, I know in the beginning when we first started using it, it seemed like there was, at least I felt like there was a lot of glitches going on. I know Nicole, you were having issues with the calls going out. But if you guys feel like everything is good to go, then that makes me feel better. I was curious too if you guys are actually getting notifications about the leads that are coming in. I would love to do like a test with you guys. If any of y'all decide to take a lead today, I'm sure we'll get many more leads today. Um, just one time you could do if you could help me out and just whenever you get the notification about the lead, will you just say, "Hey, I was notified about the lead named Matt at 12:01," because I'm trying to make sure that we are getting notified about the lead as soon as it goes into the system because a lot of times it seems like if no one claims the lead, it comes back to me. And so I just want to make sure that the system's working correctly and that it was just a case that no one took the lead and that it's not a situation where people aren't getting notified. I know one of our newer agents she is not getting notifications at all for leads, and we can't figure out why. So I just want to make sure with everybody else that if you do accept a lead, or if you see a lead notification come in, if you'll just text me and say, "Hey, lead name Matt, I got the notification at 12," then it'll help me be able to track all of that. That would be super helpful. Um, Finian mentioned the Aaron, like working with Aaron and sending clients that way. Finian, did you have a specific question about how to send people to Aaron, or what like the pitches that we use? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I had that one client we were talking about the new invoice for them, and it's part of my process for each of my clients, and it's just a checkbox basically on a Google Keep list. And yeah, I had forgotten to reach out to them to pitch Aaron's service to them, and I already did it just now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I wasn't sure. There was, I think maybe it was Cameron or maybe it was somebody else, but somebody was asking about like Aaron's services and how that works. So those of you guys that are on this call that don't know what we're talking about, so Aaron is a really awesome resource for Aaron's a really awesome resource for helping your clients set up utilities. So whether it be internet, cable, renter's insurance, um, what else does she do? I don't know. She does a bunch of different things. And we've worked with other utility concierge companies in the past. However, Erin is, I feel like she's like us. Like it's not a big corporation. It's not somebody that's going to get a 1-800 call that that looks like it's a spam call. Like Erin is a real person. She runs a small business. She has awesome customer service. And so if you guys aren't already, I can send you the link to register with Aaron. But basically, what happens is when our client texts us or calls us and says, "Hey, I just applied at so and so," the very next step that we should be taking is letting them know, "Oh, is it?" Well, like obviously, congratulations, it's so exciting, all that stuff. But also letting them know, "Hey, I work with a really awesome utility concierge company. Her services are totally free. um, do you mind me sharing your contact information with her?" Don't ever just try to give the contact, don't ever try to give Aaron's contact info to the client because the client will probably not call. Just ask for permission if we can share their contact info with Aaron, and Aaron will call them or text them to schedule a call. And a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I already have services. I don't need that." They'll say all that, but let them know that Erin a lot of times is able to get them cheaper rates, or she's able to handle all of the transfer of services, which makes their life easier. They don't have to sit on hold for 30 minutes to an hour. And then also, Erin a lot of times can get gift cards for your clients. So like Erin was able to get one of my clients $500 worth of gift cards for an AT&T setup. And so if you have a client that applies, recommend Aaron's services, ask for if Aaron can reach out to them. And if they say no, go into the whole spiel about everything that I just mentioned, because it's going to help your client in more ways than one. And then also on the back end, Aaron will pay you guys per every client, per every service that they set up, and she pays out on Fridays. So if you're trying to make quick cash, that's a quick way to make money every single week. Erin will send it to you. So if you guys need me to send you the information for Erin, please send me a private message and I can do that. So Erin, so follow up boss. Again, if you guys are on our team, please make sure with the leads that we mark them under the correct stage. I'm going to be checking on Follow Up Boss to make sure that the leads that are in our system show that they're categorized in the correct way. So there shouldn't be any leads in our system ever that just say lead. They should all say either a hot lead, a nurture lead, a warm lead, whatever. They should all say something. So please make sure you do that. And then the last announcement before we dive into what I wanted to talk about today is the lease verifications. So as you guys know, if you're on our team, we are doing the lease verifications for you guys. I will say that we probably spend 4 to 5 hours a week trying to collect lease verifications. And this week alone, we probably had to cancel out like 6 lease verifications that were either clients that changed their mind, or clients, or not even canceled them out. We had to come back to a lot of the agents and say, hey, this property does not have a lease service or does not have a client with this name. So if you guys could just do your best to make sure that whenever you tell us that you have a lease, that that person actually is going to move in there, or that like we've had several people that they're like, oh well, my client said they applied. Well, pick up the phone and call the leasing agent and make sure that the leasing agent got the application too, because a lot of times clients will say that they applied somewhere and they didn't really apply somewhere. So if you guys could do what you can do for to help us out to make sure that we're not spinning our wheels trying to collect lease verifications on non-existent leases, that would be really, really helpful. And all you have to do that is just, if your client says that they applied, just call the property and be like, hey, just wanted to follow up. Did my client Morgan apply with you guys? And they'll say yes or no. And then text us and say, hey, we have a lease, or I have a lease. Can you send the lease verification? Then we'll start doing the collections. Because as you guys can imagine, if we're trying to do invoice collect or lease verifications on like 30 outstanding verifications, if only like 4 of those are actually legit, then that takes away from us doing all of the collections for y'all's outstanding invoices. So obviously we want to be spending the majority of our time on collecting for checks that are outstanding so that y'all get money in your pockets, but we also are trying to do the lease verifications too. So just help us out and make sure that whenever you let us know that you have a lease or that somebody applied, just make sure that y'all try to do your due diligence to make sure that it's a legit application. Obviously, stuff happens, people get denied, people cancel. But I just think this week and last week, we've just had so many lease verifications that we had to close out, or that the property managers came back and said, we don't know who this person is. And it just seems like it's more than just a fluke or two. It's something that we need to try to do better at, or get better with our strategy as a team. So, I asked the group about if there was anything specific that y'all wanted to talk about today, and the only response I got was from an agent that's not on this call. So, today I wanted to talk about how to close more clients because that's what somebody asked about. They wanted to dive into this certain subject, but again, they're not on this call. So, is there any specific topics that you guys want to dive into, or anything that y'all want to chat about before I dive into that topic?
Oh, I have a question.
Awesome.
My question was, I know that you said that whenever sending like a client their first general list, that it shouldn't take that long to send it to them, like after the phone call.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure like what all you're filtering into that list because I find myself like going through trying to make sure it fits all of their criteria and everything, and I feel like it takes a while.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I will answer, and then we have a lot of top producers on this call. So if anybody else wants to jump in and share how you guys do it, that's awesome too. So what I do is that if somebody calls me, or if somebody reaches out, I have a lead, whatever, I'm gonna send them a quick list. So I'm going to know the time frame that they need to move in, the area that they need to move into, their price range, and then also if they are looking for a specific style of apartment, or are they looking for like a mid-rise or a high-rise. Usually you can get a general idea based off of what they're already telling you. So those are the like 4 to 5 things that I'm asking: move-in date, price range, size, area, all of those things. So when I go to send a list, I just put that information into Smart Apartment Data, and then it'll pull up a list of apartment communities. I'm either going to send, like, I do like a mixture of lots of things. I send obviously apartments that are doing really great move-in specials. I send apartments that are newer apartment communities. I send apartments that I just am familiar with. I just send a list of a bunch of different things to that client, and then I just hit send. So it should really only take you maybe 3 minutes to send out a general list because you're just inputting in 4 pieces of information and then checking the boxes and then hitting send. I do that as far as like a first list. And then after I have time to sit down at a computer, then I'll start to actually look up exact apartment options as far as having the right uh, move-in date with the right price range with, I actually will take, maybe an hour or 30 minutes to like look at exact options. So that's typically what I have done in the past. Does anybody else want to share what you guys do whenever sending lists to your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I do my best to just do I mean, I like the initial, if they have, oh, I'm really interested in industrial style lofts. You can go and say, hey, these are lofts, kind of like what you're saying. Um, you send that out if you have lists already pre-made. I love that. And then, like you said, you send ones that are available. But I personally do my best to try and send out, here's some units available. And it can be time consuming, but once you hit 5 to 10 that you have found, send that. You don't have to go through the whole amount and deciding what's best or what's not. If you just find 5 to 10 to send it and then say, okay, great, let me know what you're thinking about these. And then I will send more as I find them or whatever. It can be kind of time consuming, but for me, as long as I find 5 to 10 to send, then I kind of just stop there, even if there's plenty more to send them.
Yeah. And I think that question is, it really depends on the client. Because, like Ava said, if somebody reaches out and we already know that they are interested in high rises, or we already know they're interested in lofts, then we can do the strategy of sending that general list of lofts or that general list of high rises that we all have talked about in previous calls, where you can just say, like, you can go on to your smart apartment data and just pull a list, a general list of high rises, and then save that in your notes in your phone. So that's a strategy if we already know that they're looking for lofts or they're already looking for high rises. But if you get somebody who's just straight out the blue, they just reach out to you, you have their information, or you get a lead and you have their information about their move-in date price range. I personally think it's been in my best interest to like send them a big list of apartments and say, hey, I'm gonna send you some apartment options just so you have a general idea of things that are out there. Let me know if any of those look interesting to you, but I'm also going to go back and do what Ava's saying, like sending you 5 to 10, because what I have found is I like to do a mixture of both. I like to send them their 5 to 10, or I like to send them like the top picks of things that I think they may like or properties that I personally like. But then I also like to send them a big, just general list, which takes me 2 minutes to do anyways. That way, if for any reason they come back and say, well, you never told me about so and so property, I can be like, oh, well, yeah, I did. I sent you that list. Because I've seen that happen a lot where we had a client in downtown Austin that had like a $3,000 budget, and he specifically told us, I don't want to live anywhere near 6th Street. I don't want to hear the noise. That was his big thing. I want a high rise, but I don't want to be anywhere near that. And so we sent him exactly that. And then he ended up leasing at a property on 6th Street and then later said, well, y'all didn't send this to me, so we didn't get paid. But it was not what he told us. He didn't want that. So in the future, it would have been better with that specific client to just go ahead and send them anything and everything that they may like in a list, and then send them a text message later with exact options. So that's why I do that now. Does anybody else have any other ways that y'all do it that's maybe different?
I actually started doing that too because a lot of people tell me one thing and then all of a sudden that's not what they really wanted. So I've just been trying to cover my bases, and this is what I tell them, listen, I know this is what you're looking for, but I'm going to send you everything in the areas that you're looking for so you can take a look at it and we'll go on from there. Because sometimes people change their mind and you might like something that you're saying you don't like, but when you see it, you're going to be like, okay, I can work with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
Hey Jordan, sorry I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
So, like I was telling you guys a few weeks ago, I just joined a new brokerage and they have like a bunch of backlog, like pre-recorded training. So I've kind of been going through those, and one of them was about sending lists, and kind of similar to what someone else said a little bit earlier. They send about 10, well, they recommend to send about 10, and they recommend sending like three that are right at their budget, and then a couple that are right below their budget to kind of, make them feel like, okay, there are some deals out there. Also sending maybe one or two that are slightly over their budget just to show them, okay, if you're willing to spend $100, $200 more, this is what you can get. And then also they recommended including like a wild card, kind of something that maybe a personal favorite for you that may not be on their radar. Maybe it's like just outside of the neighborhoods that they mentioned, or something that they may not be seeing on their own, given their own criteria. But, we know, of course, what's out there. So they recommended sending them one of those that's like, kind of like a wild card that they may not even know that they like. But when they see it, they realize, okay, you know what? I think I actually might be interested in that. Because I think sometimes it takes people like going out on tours and things of that nature to really, really realize like what they truly, truly want, especially when it comes to budget. Some people say one budget and then they realize, okay, maybe I am willing to spend 100 to 200, 300 sometimes dollars more to get something just a little bit better.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a different perspective on how to do the list. I feel like finding some sort of a balance is key because I don't know, I think based off of the way that all of us do things differently, or even the way that like other people train or suggest, I really think if you can do a little bit of all of it, it tends to cover you. And I did also want to just agree with what Brianna said. I feel like people will tell you that their budget is 1,500 or whatever they say that it is. I learned when I was a leasing agent working on site, people will very quickly go 100, $150 over what they say they want. So, and also I also kind of like to jokingly say to the clients, like, hey, I understand that the goal is to get the best for the least amount of money, because I don't want my client to think that I'm trying to get them to spend $300 more. I just want them to know I'm a real person. I understand that like our budget is, we want the best that we can for the cheapest amount. But this is like what things typically look like. This is what pricing typically is. But I just say that to say when I run apartment lists or when I look for apartment options for people, if they tell me their budget's 1,500, I'm probably still going to send them options that are more than that, within like the $100 to $150 range. Not to insult them, not to pressure them, but just because I know people's tendencies are a lot of times they'll spend a little bit more money if they can get what they really want.
Yeah. And I also like to mention to them the specials as well, because sometimes even if they are spending, 100, $150 more, when they factor in specials, concessions, and they prorate it themselves, or whether the building prorates it, it'll bring them right back down to where they need to be, especially for those clients who are like right on the cusp. So here in Atlanta, the average one bedroom in a new high rise is like 2,300. But sometimes people come to me and they're like, I really want to spend like 2,000 to be in a high rise. But what they don't realize is, maybe just spending a couple hundred extra dollars will put you in a completely different caliber of a building, and you're still getting specials. Some of the buildings here are offering 3 months free, so it'll bring you right down to where you want to be. But I think a lot of people try to cut corners on price and sacrifice quality, and that's what I try to get a lot of people to understand.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's important to note too, if any of you guys are new, if an apartment is doing a special, it's always good to call and ask the leasing team, can my client self prorate this or do they have to take the special upfront? Because some apartments will require you to take 2 months free upfront, and then some apartments will let you self prorate it where they just give you the credit when you move in and the client can just pay $200 less a month. So it's important to ask that and also make sure your client understands it. But also, I'm a really big believer in we can share the info to the client, but when it comes to specials and like, okay, your rent really is going to be $222 less every month because of your special. I always tell my client, I think that it's going to be this much less a month, but make sure you ask the leasing agent because all of the different properties calculate their move-in special prorated amount different. And just on a liability, for just liability reasons, I don't ever like to tell my clients specifically, this is how much money you can minus off your rent every month because of your move-in special. I allow the leasing agent to do that. That's just my personal opinion on that.
Hey, Jordan, I had a very recent example of what we're talking about. I had a client that was asking for a gas stove, and we all know those are hard to get, right? And he had a specific budget, and I was not finding much for him. So I did a new report for him with no limits at all to the rent. And I was just like, hey, I know we're having a hard time finding what you want, but this list will help you because no limits at all to the rent, and it just gives him an idea of and what's possible for him to get. And then my default when they give me a budget is I always do 100 more. And I don't even mention it to the client. I just do 100 more and then I let them know like, hey, with specials and stuff, you can get down within your budget by looking at these.
Yeah. And I saw that you were asking about that, Finny, and the gas stove thing, and I was just like, I don't remember what I was doing, but I was super swamped and I couldn't reply. But when people ask about gas stoves, I'm sure that you told him or told them this, that they are not super common in apartments, but if you do come across a property that has a gas stove, more than likely it's a ultra luxury apartment building. Occasionally I've seen some that are just kind of mid-level that have gas stoves. But you did that was like the right thing to do. Just send them a list of properties that have gas stoves so that they can see, okay, well, if I have to have a gas stove, this is what the rates are going to be looking like. And they either decide that they're okay with the rates or they're like, oh, actually, the gas stove is not that big of a deal. So that was awesome that you did that. And then there was another thing I forgot I was going to mention too about the specials. Something else that some of you guys may or may not know if you're new, if your client's trying to get approved for an apartment and say that the community is doing 2 months free or 3 months free, and say their net effective rate, which is the rate that they actually pay every month, say that rate they can qualify for, they can make 3 times the rent of that. Just be aware that the apartments approve people based off of the market rate, which is the rate before the move-in special. So if your client is just on the verge of being able to be qualified, saying that they make 3 times the rent, if they make 3 times the rent and it's for like after specials, just know that they're probably 99% not going to get approved because they're going off of the market rate, if that makes sense. Hopefully, I didn't say that in a confusing way. Does anybody have any questions about any of the stuff that like all of us just shared?
I don't have a question, but I would love a little see if anyone has some input. First off, I wanted to tell Finian that I apologize. I think I found a client of his. And so anyone else, if you find apparently a red dot, always make sure on smart apartment data, don't make sure to look and make sure it's not one of our own agents that has also helped them recently. I accidentally did that. Apparently, we came across the same client, me and Vinian. But I don't know how to go about this client. I wanted to maybe get some input. They wanted an industrial style loft, and that is it. And they're moving, within like 3 weeks. And I've sent them all that's available, and they're like, I don't like any of these. And then I tried sending them more modern lofts, and they're like, no, I don't want modern. I only want industrial. Do y'all have any like input of how to approach this client? Because I've told them, I'm like, well, and I've looked even ones that won't even pay us. Like this is all that's available for that style. Cause like I kind of don't want to lose this client because clearly they're looking. I don't know how to like approach them though. That hey, I've told them I've sent you the industrial style lofts that are available. Either you like those or you don't. I don't know how to maybe best approach them. I don't want to lose them. Does anyone maybe have any input?
I'll answer, but if anybody else wants to go first.
Have you asked them to maybe send you some videos of inspiration that they've seen on maybe TikTok or Instagram? That way, maybe you can pinpoint some of the buildings that they're specifically looking at.
Yeah, I believe they came from one. So it was a company lead. I think it came from the Mosaic, and I sent them that, but they weren't interested. I've sent them all of them, and then I've even sent them ways to look at videos of ones, and they are. And I even sent them modern laws, but they're like, I absolutely don't want modern apartments. I only want industrial style. But I've sent them the only industrial styles that are available. I don't know what to, I'm like, I don't, they're like, no, I'm not interested in any of these. Thanks. I'm like, well, that's it. That's all that's available.
Well, I think the asking the question of like having them to send you videos of their inspo, I think that's a really, really good strategy because you guys can always, there's like the ways to do the Google reverse image search, or you like I've even had agents where they like screenshotted a video and then zoomed in really big on the windows to see what was outside of the windows so they could figure out where the property was. And also on our Facebook group, people are constantly posting other locator companies videos and saying, hey, does anybody know where this is? So I think asking about videos of inspo is a really good idea. So I guess Ava, my question is, well, a couple of things. So with the industrial lofts, it's one of those things that we just have to explain to them, which I'm sure you did, that there's not a bunch of, there's like maybe 8 industrial loft buildings in Dallas. So if they don't like any of those, we can't make something come up out of thin air. So we just have to kind of ride the wave with them and allow them to figure that out, that you've showed them everything, there's not any other options, and just know that as long as you can kind of keep your rapport with them, that they are going to end up leasing somewhere. It's just probably not going to be this loft building that they thought that they were going to get. So I think if you want to keep them as a client, just continue to remain patient with them and continue to just re-emphasize what you've already told them. I even will go as far as just sending them like, hey, this is a list of every single industrial loft building in Dallas, just so that you know, like all the cards are on the table. This is it. And then they are eventually going to realize that is it. And then also maybe continue to just send them other options that aren't industrial lofts, because like you said, they're good at least somewhere. I guess my question is, so if they were interested in the Mosaic and then they didn't want to lease at the Mosaic, like what was the holdup on the Mosaic?
I don't know. And I ended up sending them everything, and then they were only interested in Dallas Power and Lofts. And when I spoke with him, he was like, he gave me all the things that he wanted, and he was like, yeah, and I really want a washer and dryer in the unit. And I was like, okay, do you want it provided, or are you okay with just connections? He was like, yes, I'm okay with just connections. And then I sent them to him. He's like, yeah, I really am cool with Dallas Power and Lofts, and looked into it. He's like, these only have connections. I'm not interested. Like, just he's flip floppy. So it's not like it's a client that's being easy to work with. I just, I don't want to lose any client possible. And I saw Finny, and yeah, your thing about expanding areas, your comment just now, but those industrial lofts, there's only so many. And he doesn't want to be in Deep Ellum. He's cool with downtown. I sent all that's possible. I mean, I agree. I'm going to still continue to just send him ones occasionally, just did if anyone else had any other input. But yeah, a little bit difficult of client. I thought really easy because he was so specific in what he wanted and doesn't want any of the ones that are for him. I mean, it's just a difficult client, but I'll do my best to try and keep him.
Does anybody else have anything that y'all wanted to add to that?
So I'm just trying to be funny when I have difficult clients in my head. I'm like, okay, well, if you find one that you're looking for just like that, I will take you out to lunch or dinner. I'm being funny.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Like I told him, I was like, well, this is it. I've sent you all that there is. And he's like, well, I'm not interested. Thank you. I'm like, all right, well, then you're not going to get what you want. I don't, in my head, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you otherwise.
Well, I would with that client too. I would all if you feel like that you're gonna lose them maybe because sometimes client I mean all of us have probably experienced this. If you can't find your client the needle in a haystack apartment that doesn't exist, whether if it's because their price range or whatever it is, we all have experienced those types of people. And so maybe at some certain point, you could be like, hey, well, if you do end up finding your own apartment, I'm more than happy to offer you a rebate if you do list me as your referral source, since, in a polite way, because I've done so much work for you. Like, maybe throwing that out there so that they kind of have that in the back of their mind, like, okay, Ava's not finding me this apartment that doesn't exist. But she's still gonna give me a rebate, so just making sure, like putting that little bug in their ear that, like Nicole said, well, if you find it, let me know and I'll give you a rebate, like that way you can try to still recover any type of commission with that.
I actually recently did that exact thing, Jordan. I had a client who wanted to be in a high rise for 2200 and she really wasn't finding it. And I tried to, manage her expectations at first, like, hey, most high rise apartments go for this, especially for a two bedroom. You're going to be looking at this. So she found some that she liked and they were over her budget, but she ended up sneaking off to another building. They happened to have a high rise apartment. It was a two bedroom for like 2300. And it was so crazy because I feel like she was another one of those clients who was sacrificing quality just to be in a certain price point. Because I would have never even thought to send this building to her based off what she told me she wanted. But she said she was going to apply there. So I had to offer her a rebate because it was a building that we work with. Offered her a rebate to put my name down on the application to try to like intercept the deal a little bit. But yeah, I recently had a very similar situation with a client who was kind of unrealistic.
Mhm. Yeah, and you guys know I don't like to just advertise, oh, I offer rebates. That like I'm not big about that at all. I think if you're brand new in the industry and you're trying to get clients, I think that's great. Offer rebates. Do anything that you can to get people to start working with you. But if you're not new, then or even if you are new and you just don't want to work with those types of people that are just looking for a handout, like I still am a believer that there's some scenarios where offering a rebate is beneficial. Like if you think you're about to lose somebody, it's beneficial to do
Please fasten driver's seatbelt.
and I know that like Nicole and I have worked a lot of leads together, and there's some scenarios where I'm like, hey, go ahead and offer a rebate because we want to make sure that we don't lose this person. Because ultimately, you get the vibe with certain clients that they are going to move somewhere. So it's just a matter of are they going to move with or without you. So it's okay. I'm a believer that it's okay to go that route. Um, okay. So, and good luck, Ava, with that client because those people are, those people I say, the ones that are unrealistic, it's just, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I offered the rebate for the units I sent, like, hey, if you do decide, but also try and keep him posted. So obviously he's moving, so hopefully we can get something out of him.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, somebody asked about talking about how to close more clients or like their lead conversion ratio, I guess you could maybe say. This person again's not on the call, so I'm not too concerned, but I'm not too concerned with going super deep into this, but I did want to just chat about this, especially because the majority of the people that are on this call are top agents, top producing agents, and then the other people that are on this call, some of the agents on this call are brand new. So I think this is like a really good conversation to have. So when it comes to lead conversion, regardless, I'm asking on like an overall basis, what do you guys feel like is a good closing ratio? Are we talking 50%? Are we talking 20%? Are we talking 10%? Like, what do you guys feel like is a good ratio when it comes to closing clients to leads?
I mean, me personally, I'm thinking 10% at best, which is fine. People reach out, um, which is great to have people reach out. Um, and
But
then I
10%
mean,
of the
10%,
time. Yeah, okay. Does anybody
but
else?
it's
Yeah.
good, I think, if you saw the way I'm getting the leads through. It depends on your source, I think, too.
Exactly. That was the next thing I was going to go into. But yeah, does anybody else have, and I'm just saying any source that you guys go into, we'll talk about the lead source in a bit, but what do you guys feel like is a good, or what do you feel like is realistic, I should say?
Yeah, I agree with her. Maybe about 10%, maybe even like 8% sometimes too. But yeah, I would say one out of every 10 leads may close.
Cool. Finian, what is your take?
My situation's a little different, but I hover around 20 to 25 clients at a time. And it's like, it's a revolving door. And I just have a normal process with them that I follow where I follow up with them no later than a 2-day gap. So 48 hours passes, I'm messaging them or doing something with them to make sure I'm keeping that connection live. And yeah, I've never really tracked it well to know for sure, but with that revolving door of clients, I'm still only closing like 5 or 6 a month, and my goal's 10. So I definitely need to improve it. But
Yeah.
right now, it just yeah, it seems to with that client rate coming in, then that's how many I'm closing per month. So it's not too bad. I mean, I guess that's 1 in 5. So not good at doing math in my head, but and yeah, I definitely want to improve it though.
Yeah, well, I definitely encourage you guys to, with any lead that you get, and I'm talking whether it be a company lead or whether it be you got the person's contact info. I know Finian, a lot of times you'll communicate with people via email. So that would, to me, be a lead because you got some form of contact info. But I think it's really, really important for us to be tracking, okay, I got 100 leads this month and I closed 10. I think that's very, very important. So I really encourage all of you guys to start doing that. Nicole, what do you feel like a realistic closing ratio is?
I'm kind of swinging with Brianna and Ava into the 8 to 10%,
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
cool.
So
Awesome. Well, that's right around the number I was gonna say too. And then Ava started to talk about the other point that I wanted to say is that it really depends on what your lead source is. The big reason why I just tell people I do not sign on with the Facebook Marketplace lead generation bandwagon that everyone seems to be on. The reason why that is because I've just heard so much over the years, agents that say, well, I got 100 leads from this one post, but I closed one person. And to me, it's just not worth it. Like you could be putting a lot of time and energy into maybe 10 leads that are real good quality leads, and maybe you close 3 of them. So I think it's really important, and this is from like a different lead source, I should have said. So I think it's really important to consider your lead sources and where leads are coming from. Are they quality leads? Like what type of people they are so that you can try to determine where you're going to put your energy into. I know other agents in the past on these calls have also talked about different strategies that they've found work when it comes to deciding, okay, am I going to give my energy to this person or if I'm just going to move on to the next? And it really just depends on what your business is. Some people, some agents, their whole thing is volume. And so they feel like, well, I'm just going to try to get 300 leads a month. And then based off of a handful of questions, I'm going to decide if I'm going to put my energy into them or not. Some people operate like that. Then there's some people who say, "Oh, I don't care to get 300 leads a month. I'm going to try to get 20 leads a month and I'm going to try to give my all to all 20 people so that I try to close a high percentage." So it really depends on what works for you and what feels good energetically. I'm somebody who I get burnt out, I would say pretty easily. So I am not going to be somebody who's just going to go for volume. I'm not going to try to get as many clients as I possibly can in hopes that I close 8% of them. That's just not what I want to do. Um, I work better when I try to get quality leads and then it may be a smaller amount of quality leads and then I can try to put in the energy to get those people closed. So there's not a right or wrong way to do anything in this industry. I personally feel like it really just kind of depends on what works best for you. There's some agents on our team, they can just file through 20, 30, 40 people a day talking to them and it works for them. And then there's some people who are more, they need to conserve their energy a little bit more. So it really kind of just depends on, what works best for you and then also the lead sources too. So I think that that was a good thing to mention, Ava.
Yeah, no, I mean, just going off of that, especially if there's like newer agents, just again, what works for you works for you. What you find works for you works for you. But for example, I posted one marketplace ad and I actually just posted a new one today. So my second one. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, I think I had probably 50 people reach out. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, I'm interested. Great. When you looking to move, when you looking to move, and I was just only going to send them to that property. I was not going to expend my energy on them. And I did get one to lease. That was one of 50. But I feel like it was worth it because I feel like my energy on that was not very high. It was like, great, you interested? Because I've also toured the property. Here's some videos. Here's the application requirements. I mean, if you're going to apply, put my name down. It was very straightforward, easy peasy. I wasn't doing the whole, oh, you're looking for a high rise in downtown Dallas, and one of those clients that I might spend more energy on. So, kind of the same. It's like I had 50 people interested in that unit. But if they weren't immediately wanting to apply and good to go, I just didn't expend my energy on it. And for me, that was worth it. So that may be a route for people to take. And that was easy enough for me. So just one route other newer agents might want to take. Post a property, know all about it, know the leasing staff, be able to send them that way, be able to send them on a tour and get paid like from one. Like that for that route, that was easy for me on that particular way.
And I think that that strategy is such a great strategy. I like, to me, again, it all just depends on what you want to do because some agents look at this like, well, I'm working for the client. I'm going to help the client find an apartment somewhere. And then some people look at it as I'm working for the property and I'm marketing the property. So I personally have done both strategies. There was one summer that there was a brand new building, the Butler Brothers building, and it was really unique. It was brand new, very unique apartment. And I just posted that apartment all summer long. I didn't post any other apartments. And so I just sent anybody and everybody to that apartment community. And since it was a lease up, since it was completely vacant, I could get tons of people to move in there. And it was super easy for me because I'm not having to, like how Ava's talking about, I'm not having to search around for 15 other options for you. Like, it's like, no, are you interested in this apartment? Cool. If not, keep it moving. Like, I'll move on to the next client who is. So there's lots of different strategies. It really kind of just depends. I do suggest if you're going to go the route that Ava's talking about and just marketing a community and just funneling through people to try to get them to set up appointments at that community, have a Dropbox folder of videos of that community so that as soon as somebody inquires, you can send them the Dropbox link that has all of the video files. Make friends with one of the leasing agents, get like the tour stuff set up immediately for them. And then also the most important thing is make sure whatever community that you're doing this type of strategy, make sure that they have low occupancy. So whether they are a lease up building that they're just opening, they have 100 units that need to be leased, or it could be an older community that just isn't occupied that much. And you can look on smart apartment data, and I'm sure other locator systems that'll show their occupancy rate. You definitely don't want to do, or I think you don't want to do this strategy with an apartment community that's 93% occupied, because if you get 100 people that inquire about a one bedroom that you post, what are you going to do when the apartment gets leased? But if you do
Yeah.
some,
This particular property, anytime someone asks, they're like, is this still available? I'm like, yes, because they have so much. And the manager used to be an apartment locator, so she's great about paying us as well. So also don't go to a property that may, like, if you've seen high reviews recently, that they don't pay us. So also a note to take.
yeah, that's good.
Hey, Jordan, I have a random question around invoicing.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'm about to have to start doing it on my own, and I've never done it before. The brokerage I'm switching to doesn't offer it, which is fine because I'm only going to be doing locating part-time. But for someone who's never done it, are you able to give me just like a quick rundown of like that procedure and what they typically ask for when it's time to invoice?
I wish I could, because it's very, very challenging. The vendor or doing invoicing is extremely difficult. So in a nutshell, what I can tell you is that every every single apartment community does invoicing differently. It doesn't matter if they all work for Greystar, or if they all are a part of Greystar, or if they're all a part of Willowbridge. It doesn't matter if it's the same property management company. Every single property manager does it differently. So my best rule of thumb is to treat every single invoice like a brand new thing, and to call every single property and say, hey, I have an invoice. What do I need to do to get paid by you guys? Because some apartments have vendor setups where you have to pay a fee to be a vendor. Some of them will do the vendor setups for you. Some of them don't have vendor setups. Some of them have 2 and 3 different compliance companies that you have to set up with just for one invoice. I mean, it is a nightmare, if I'm being honest, to do invoicing. So just treat every single invoice as a brand new thing, as if you've never ever done invoicing before. And a lot of times too, if they say you have to be set up as a vendor, they have to send you an invitation to set up as a vendor. And that's a whole other thing, but just treat it as if you've never done it before with every single invoice. And a good rule of thumb is when I send an invoice out, I immediately say, hey, is there anything I need to know in order to get this invoice paid? And then hopefully they respond and tell me. The other things too is a lot of times they ask for W-9s for the broker and the broker's license and the EIN numbers. So that would be information your broker would have. That's why a lot of people go with brokers that do invoicing, because it's just a whole, I could hire 15 people to do invoicing and it still wouldn't be enough. It's just a big job. Hopefully that helps. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Delicia, just out of curiosity, what made you choose that brokerage, seeing that they don't offer like collection support?
So I'm actually just going to be locating part-time. They're a brokerage that focuses more on single family new construction. So I'm just going to be doing it on my own on the side, which they said they were fine with, but they're not helping on the invoicing end.
Oh, that's so much harder.
I know. Wish me luck.
That's so luck. It's a nightmare.
It is crazy. I want to cry every week because of invoicing, I promise.
And they all pay via check, right? Or there's some that will do electronic payment.
Um, it's very, very rare that they do electronic payment. Um, be careful with there's like some companies that use pay mode, where I found out they take like 10% of the check. And that was something I didn't know. So, and each vendor setup is usually like 90 bucks a year. So that's another thing. So invoicing is extremely it's just a lot. So, but to answer your question, just bet on the fact that you're going to get your broker is going to get a paper check. And then oftentimes the paper checks get lost in the mail and then you have to start all the way over. So it's just, I wish that those of you guys that y'all are just doing the locating, just know that your broker or your invoicing team, they are working so hard to get y'all paid because it is very challenging. But okay, cool. All right. Well, in a nutshell, I was happy to find out you guys' opinion on like the closing ratio thing. So, with that being said, just as we've talked about before, make sure that you're tracking your source of your leads. Start being able to look at, okay, which sources are giving me leads that are closing. We're doing that right now with with our company. I mean, we're getting sometimes 10, 20 leads a day. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, are these closing? Which apartment communities, which apartment post communities are closing? Is it the posts that are doing high rises that those clients end up leasing? Is it the posts where we're posting like mid rises with really good move-in specials? Like we're trying to track exactly which types of posts and which types of clients are the ones that close the majority so we can decide where we want to put our marketing efforts. So I highly suggest those of you guys that are doing your own lead generation, make sure that you're tracking how many leads are coming in every single month, and then also which ones are closing and where they came from. And then also with that, just like we've talked about today, there's so many different strategies that you can do. Just you have to figure out what works best for you. What I do could be totally different than what Ava does or what Nicole does. And so just make sure that, you are self-aware enough to know how you best operate and try to structure your business in that way. I really love that Ava's trying this new strategy about just like posting an apartment community, not trying to help every inquiry she gets and just trying to focus on marketing that apartment building. That's something that I personally, if I was like heavily doing apartment locating, I would be doing that strategy because I get very burnt out. And so trying to like go with somebody for a 3 month long process of them being over here and then over here and then over here is just really, really draining for me. But some people that works for them. So just being aware of like what your strengths are and how to structure your business in that way. And then also, as hopefully we've all been able to establish that this is a huge numbers game. So being able to try to determine who to spend your time on, who not to spend your time on, and then also not
Yes,
getting
I'm trying to get through here. Okay.
also not beating yourself up about leads that aren't closing. I know it can be really easy to get attached to a client as far as, oh, well, their price range is really big, or oh, I know for a fact they're going to lease. So I just want to hold on longer because I think they're going to lease somewhere. I am a really big believer in just non-attachment. And so sometimes you just have to know, okay, this is either going to pan out or not going to pan out, and I'm not going to take it too personal if it doesn't. And I know that I have just observed a lot over the years, myself included. A lot of times agents will get burnt out because they're just like, man, so many people end up canceling or they ghost me or they get denied. And it's just, we have to remember that somebody is not a real person until they move into that apartment. It doesn't matter if they applied somewhere. It doesn't matter if they told you that they for sure are moving to your city because they got a new job. It's just do not get attached to something until they move in. And really, we shouldn't get attached to something until we get the check in our hand. Because even I've seen scenarios where people moved in and then got evicted after 1 month and then we didn't get paid on that commission. So just try to practice the idea of non-attachment, try to understand it's a numbers game and try to work in the best way that you can for you and know that there's not a right way to do anything. It's all going to be different for all of us. And that's why these calls are super helpful so that we can all just figure out what is working for other people and take what feels good for us and then leave what doesn't feel good for us as far as other people's advice. So hopefully you guys found this call somewhat helpful. Does anybody else have anything that y'all want to add before we jump off the call today?
Hey, Jordan. I wanted to bring up that client that I just had, that Jared guy, but basically that was a very frustrating client for me. Their story kept changing. All the places that they wanted to live changed. So like the city area kept changing on me. And then they're like, oh, I'm moving to Florida. Basically their plans kept changing, and I was working with them for a couple months, and I was super frustrated, and it was to the point where I marked them as not active and I was just giving up. And then sure enough, their plans changed again and they've rented a place and we're going to get paid $1,000. So I didn't, like close the door completely on them, but it was super frustrating, and I left it open for it to actually go through, and it finally did. So even the hard ones can sometimes work out.
For sure. And that's why it's good with our team specifically with Follow Up Boss. That's um it's great for like the people that are not responsive, or even people like Finian's talking about, if they say, oh, well, I'm actually moving to Florida instead. If we just put them under the nurture stage in our system, the system is automatically going to do touch points for them. It's going to send them emails on like a scheduled timeline. So even though you guys may be thinking this person's not going to do anything at all, just put them as a nurture lead, because just you won't have to talk to them again, but just know, or just allow the system to do its thing so that it can follow up with them, because there's a lot of cases where people do end up coming back as long as you stay top of mind by getting emails from you. Sometimes they come back. So, but cool.
Now I came here for.
Alrighty, well, I'm gonna mute Jasmine. Okay, so thank you guys so much for jumping on the call today, and we will, I guess, talk to you guys 2 weeks from now.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.